Hey folks, in today's video we're going to be talking about Liegecraft. If you haven't heard of this game, I will leave a link to it in the description down below on Steam. It was announced, I think, roughly about a month ago. It is a new game in the 4X realm, and it is a little bit like Crusader Kings mixed with a few other games as well. And I don't say that just as a Crusader Kings player. It is actually covered in this announcement and Q&A specifically about how it is different to Crusader Kings, which was kind of interesting to see. But in today's video, I'm just going to go through the announcement and Q&A. We can talk about it in the comments down below as always. And if you do enjoy this video, hit the like button, subscribe. This is a game I am looking forward to, and if the video does well on the channel, I will probably cover this in a bit more depth going forwards up to launch and release in a very similar manner to how I covered Crusader Kings. But as always, let's just get straight into it. And first, they're going to give us a bit of an overview on what Liegecraft is. So this is a 4X strategy game mixed with The Sims in some ways, and the strategic layer of the game combines the addictive one more turn replayability of the Civilization series with the character-focused diplomacy and statecraft of Crusader Kings 3 delivered in a tangible form. So what does that mean? It just means they've brought elements from all these different game series and made their own game based around that. Well, not really, I would say based around it, but really like how they can tell players and potential players in the future what kind of game this is. So beyond turn-based strategic planning, Liegecraft delivers immersive Sims-like real-world events, from lavish feasts to tavern brawls to royal hunts and the castle dungeon exploration. Without careful leadership, your quarrelsome vassals may end up jeopardizing these diplomatic missions. Manage your desires, keep them in check, or risk civil war if you cannot stop their tempers from rising above petty disputes. Beware though, as your vassals' personalities, relationships, and flaws may conflict with your strategic goals. Lead them wisely, shaping their traits and balancing their needs, or risk their petty squabbles, leading to bloodshed and ruin. So already you can see from this, it is a strategy game, but it does have those Sims, or even I would say Crusader Kings style interactions, where you're having to manage actual characters in your realm. It's not something like Europa Universalis, Civilization really, where you're playing as just the realm. You're not just England. In this game, a lot more like Crusader Kings, you are playing in a realm as a ruler. So you are the country, but you're more the leader of that country and having to do those interactions with people to make sure you get what you want out of them and see how that shapes your realm as you continue playing. And as you can see here, this is a screenshot of the world map. You can see the realm where they are, and you can see you've got the characters at the top. It looks like you can unlock a bunch of different ones as well. And the map itself, I think this looks great. I think the art in this is amazing. I really like how the cities have sprawled to them by the looks of it. You've got your keep where you're based, and then your kind of town, city, spreading out across the land from where you are. And it does look like at the bottom, maybe that's like a goodie hut, like Civilization there, that chest that's glowing maybe, and you can see your characters there as well on the map. Looks very cool. I like this UI. It looks very nice. I do like to look at the UIs of new games. Are they approachable? Can a new player pick up the game and really learn how to play the game easily? Or is the UI, very fiddly, very hard to know unless you watch like 100 YouTube videos. But from first look here, I like how the UI looks. The world itself looks great as well. But then they do continue to say, Liegecraft is a turn-based sandbox strategy experience with a strong focus on RGP storytelling. Taking inspiration from hero-focused games like Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the game lets you ride out into your lands as the king or take direct control of your vassals. Expand your realm by developing your provinces and researching powerful technologies throughout the medieval age. And when diplomacy fails, lead massive armies into epic battles or resolve matters in one-on-one duels. So you have the full warfare battles, but you can also, it looks like, have these one-on-one duels. It'd be interesting to see how the one-on-one duels work. Is it actually a proper like combat system, like a minigame? Or is it more a text-based turn thing like in Crusader Kings 3 when you do duels as well? Next, they're going to go over the key features of Liegecraft. So the first is craft your feudal realm. Give titles, land, and require loyalty in return. You have control over your vassals on the map and can develop them how you like. Give them roles in court and appoint their duties. Vassals are quarrelsome beasts though. In return for your generosity, you will likely be rewarded with civil wars, neighborly squabbles, and other various situations generated by their peculiar personalities. So I do like the kind of humor there. You give them everything they need and they're still going to double cross you, have civil wars, cause problems, rebel against you. It does say at the beginning, take control of your vassals. And then it sounds like at the end of that paragraph, they are like autonomous people that will do what they want. So again, something we're going to have a little bit more information on. But yeah, I'm not too sure. It's a bit vague, I guess, as to how much control you actually have over your vassals. I wonder if it means like if your vassals go to war on your behalf or something, maybe then you take over those battles and control them. but the actual like RPG side of it is controlled by the AI. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Next, they're talking about attending and hosting real-time events. Experience immersive real-time events from lavish feasts to tavern brawls to royal hunts and castle dungeons, where you will interact directly with your vassals, manipulating them so they don't jeopardize your carefully laid plans. Feel the impact of these events through the rest of your gameplay. After all, actions do have consequences. This was one of the scenes they showed off in the initial trailer, where it is very much like The Sims. You see them moving around the table, you see them having fights and things like that. It looks very interesting how this is going to play out. And again, the UI looks good. I like the look of this throne room. It would be great if you can like singularly place things and really make your throne room your own. I imagine it's probably more kind of standard template, looking different depending on who you are, but it would be awesome if you could move things around and things like that. Really like how this looks. It's got a very kind of like Sims-esque UI there. Talk to this person, give them an ale, challenge to duel, imprison them maybe as well. It is the papal legate, so maybe you will imprison them, depending on what you're playing as. Next is manage your vassals and their stories. Fierce but greedy knights or a diligent wealthy nobleman. Each king and vassal has a unique personality and traits that affect their interactions, choices, and playstyle. Complete quests and create a unique story for each of the characters, gather experience and level them up to improve skills and traits. Liegecraft is full of stories, scheming nobles, and proud knights who will all have their part to play. These stories will combine handcrafted content with procedural elements to provide a unique feel, a story that could be a one-off event or intrigue lasting years. What decisions will you make? So this sounds really cool. It sounds like there are scripted, like full event chains that can happen, but there is also these procedural elements to kind of have a base set of things that could happen, and then the game can kind of scramble them together and make different stories. So I guess like the more mundane stories like you have in Crusader Kings, where you're like, I've seen this event like a million times, I'm kind of bored of it. It looks like with some procedural generation, maybe the same events are kind of there, but they do mix them up a little bit, give you that little bit more replayability and flavor and things like that to the game. The next is diplomacy based on relations. This is probably one of the nearest things to Crusader Kings. Diplomacy is about characters and their relations to each other. Every character has a relationship with each other character they have ever met. These can be incredibly valuable when making a big trade deal or a huge pain when trying to reconcile two quarreling noblemen. Build your relationships or ruin them. It's up to you what king you will be. So you can play as like a nice conciliatory king, bringing everyone together, happy times. Or it looks like you can play as a bit of a scheming evil king and just mess things up and set your nobles against each other and just kind of have a crazy chaotic realm, I guess, and see how that plays out. But you can see here from this UI, kind of similar to a Crusader Kings, maybe Civilization, but you're here, you're having a conversation with another queen by the looks of it, and you have these decisions you can make, and you can see in the UI, it can affect your opinion negatively or in a positive way. I guess the positive one, you may be giving things away to build up that opinion, but then you can trade that opinion in a way to get like trade deals or alliances, all that kind of stuff. And again, the UI here looks really nice. I like this angle. It's more of a flat angle on the map. But you can see the fog of war, which looks great. And you can see another kind of realm, it looks like, in the background, maybe another city or something. And yeah, it looks great at this distance anyway. Next, they're going to talk about wars and duels, which they mentioned earlier. Unique combat systems based on personal duels and kingdom wars. Decide how you want to resolve conflicts. Will you power play your vassal's character traits, solve it in duels, or will you raise an army and unleash a full-scale war on your hostile neighbor? It kind of reminds me of Humankind, not in a bad way. You know, we all know what I think of Humankind, but the actual map, how it looks very interesting. I guess you kind of move them on the tiles, I would guess. We haven't really had any other information about this. From this screenshot, it looks like maybe they fight on a version of the map where they meet each other, maybe, by the looks of it. I'm not too sure. Anyway, it looks kind of cool. I like the oversized horses for the leaders, and then I guess it plays out maybe automatically, or you select how you do your battles depending on what units you've got and things like that. But again, looks quite cool, especially for an unreleased game so far, so there'll be probably some more improvements before it actually comes out and launch. And then the last major thing they're going to talk about is the economy. Build buildings in your cities to develop your local economy, improve the lands around your cities to gather rare resources, capture regions and assign them to your vassals to gain strategic advantages over other kingdoms. So that is what your economy is going to be doing, fueling your realm and helping you with your other goals. The last thing they're going to mention here is scenario editor and modding. So you can actually do a bunch of modding with this game. As I always say for Crusader Kings, I don't make mods. I just play fantastic mods in games. I do appreciate how much work modders put in to make improvements to games. And I do also really appreciate studios who let people go in and mod them, it would be so easy for these games to be locked down. You get this, you then have to buy all our DLC. Whereas when they let you mod it, you're giving your game and the players content for free. Like, I know the modders have to put time in, effort in, you know, that's why we appreciate them so much. But it is free content for players for the most part, which just makes these games better and better. If you've played Crusader Kings, there's such fantastic mods like the Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, so many mods based on real IP that just make those games even better because it's basically just free DLC. Some of those mods are insane. Like, they would be like full expansions for a game, and modders are giving them to us for free. So really good to see them putting that in here as well, letting people expand the game, make things better, change how things look and things like that. And with that, that is the end of the announcement part of the blog. Next, they're going to have a Q&A section. These are some questions that people had after the announcement video came out about a month ago. So I'm going to quickly go through these as well. So can you found your own cities? And the short answer is not really. They wanted to keep the aspect close to historical reality. Creating new cities from scratch was not very common in the medieval times. Maps in Liegecraft are divided into regions, and every region has at least one small settlement already. These settlements can be upgraded and grown from tiny villages to large cities. So in the sense of picking a specific spot to build a new city, no. But in terms of getting city rights and founding and upgrading a city from a small village, yes, you can do that. So that really does answer that. You can't pick a new place on the map to build a city, but all these different little villages, you can go in, take them over, and build them up into a new city. So kind of a yes and no answer, really. Will the game be set in a specific limited time period? The game is locked to the medieval period. They haven't decided an exact starting date, however, probably something around the 9th and 10th century. It'd be interesting, again, to see how far the time goes. Is it like time-gated, kind of like this is saying? I'm guessing it cuts off like Crusader Kings in like 1400 or something, or is it literally like 100 years? And your game will end at that point. Again, they didn't really answer it specifically here. Is it time limited, like how long you can play the game? But they're probably still deciding on that internally, like how far that goes. And then the next question, kind of funny to see this on an announcement of a new game so specifically. I mean, it is a valid question, because everyone thought this when the trailer came out. But what sets this game apart from Crusader Kings 3? Again, to me, kind of wild this is on there, but also, like, it's kind of fair enough for them to just come up and say, look, this is what it's like, this is what it isn't like. So here we go. Liegecraft is more compact and tangible in terms of scale. It is turn-based and fully sandbox. Your vassals run around the map and you can control them. So again, I'm not sure like how much you control them or you don't, because there's some things earlier where it sounds like you can control them, but then there's other times where there's the events they were talking about where it looks like you don't have direct control over them. Maybe that is the differential. Like on the map you control them, but the interactions, like the Sims side of it, I guess, if you want to think of it that way, is where they're autonomous and the AI controls them based on their traits. Maybe that's the difference there. We'll see more in the future. The game does not resemble the exact reality of factual Europe in medieval times. We give players more freedom in this game. Another big difference between CK3 and this is our real-time events. While in CK3 you can go to your court and see your characters, everyone's favourite part of that game for sure, they don't move around or really interact with you beyond events. In our feast, however, characters will move around, drink, fight in real time. The way they interact in these real-time events will have a massive impact on the strategic parts of your game. I kind of wish they'd come together and combine the two games. Like, these real-time events just sound so cool. Seeing your characters actually moving around and interacting with each other, it sounds awesome. How many playable factions will there be apart from the 3 already mentioned? Right now, their focus is on making the existing factions distinctive and unique. We want them to allow for different playstyles, not just different in stats. They are planning to introduce countries that are less obvious and still a bit undiscovered. They hope to share information about this in the near future. They do say here, though, they will surely add a few more factions for the release of the game and plan many more after release. Hopefully the game is successful, and then we get some DLC with some cool additional factions, some different countries for you to go up against, all that kind of stuff as well. But it does look like they're really concentrating on a few at the beginning, make those really good, get the game out, hopefully people enjoy it, and then we'll get different ones in the future depending on how well the game does. Next is, do you have one leader or do you manage a dynasty? A very good question. Originally they planned to just have one leader per playthrough, so like Civilization, as this is meant to be their story and wanted to lean into the RPG aspects of that. However, as we have shown Liegecraft to more and more people, they've gotten the feedback that they would like some kind of inheritance, so that is something they are looking into. So that's very interesting. Initially, they planned it more like Civilization, as I said, where you would play as one character to the end. It is just you in charge of a country. But as they say here, as people have got their hands on it, I guess as like playtesters and things have got their hands on it, they've said it would be cool to have inheritance, have your characters like get old, die maybe in events, and then your son takes over. I don't know if they'll actually put it together. They do say here that it's something they are working towards, as it would be a good mix. I think it does work well in Crusader Kings. Obviously, Crusader Kings is a different game, as they did mention. It is more based on that Dynasty gameplay, but I think it does give some spice to events where you're like, oh, my character could die here, and then I'll have to play as my son, and he's a different kind of character. I don't really want to play as him, but I've got to because my leader died. I think it kind of fits this kind of game very well, so we'll see further updates before launch. And then the last question they've got here, again, going back to what is Liegecraft. So various websites have coined this game as Civilization meets Crusader Kings. Would you agree with this comparison? And what sets it apart? Again, like the one before, kind of wild to me here that they're bringing this up so much in this post, but I guess it does make sense, and that is what people think. So it is cool, I guess, that a game studio is just like, yes, okay, people say our game's like this, let's just confront it head on. I guess really set expectations, which is great. You don't want people thinking it's going to be the depth of Civilization, the depth of Crusader Kings mashed together. Wow, this is going to be awesome. And then you pick the game up and you're like, well, it's not really like those two games. I feel kind of lied to in a way. Not by this studio, but as they say here, outlets, you know, review places, YouTubers, I'm sure, have said this is the case. So it's cool that they're kind of bringing this up and really saying, look, this isn't what it is. This is what our game is. So you're not going into it under like false pretenses in a way. Again, not their fault. It looks like just different websites and stuff have kind of brought this up. So their reply to this was yes, but there is more to that. We base our gameplay frame and structure on Civilization and strive for that one more turn feeling that is so good. I would agree with that. Crusader Kings inspires them on how to have the RPG element with some cool events, quirky, different things that happen, having your character traits affect things in the game. Of course, Liegecraft is one of its kind, and there are different things that make it different to these other games. First of all is the scale. Liegecraft is not a grand strategy game. It is more casual medieval 4X and much more tangible and compact than CK3. Unlike Civilization, players are not progressing through eras of the world. It is all in the medieval times. You control characters, not units, and your vassals are actual RPG characters with personalities, memories, inventory, and more moving on the map. Oh, they have inventory as well? That is very interesting. So again, as I was saying, it's not a mashup of the two and you're getting all the features from both of them. It's more little elements of them they've brought together and thought, oh, that bit's good from this game, this is good from this other game, but we're not making a grand strategy. You're not getting the whole world map or something like that. It is a bit more compact. And then the last bit they finish on here is what mostly sets Liegecraft apart and makes it unique is the addition of real-time events. I will agree with that. As I said before, I think the real-time events sound like they could be really fun. Just watching your vassals fight each other, or a messenger as they had in that screenshot earlier from the Papal States, just getting wrecked whilst he's in a feast with you or a hunt or something like that. You can jump to a feast or hunt. There will be many types in which you can freely interact with other characters, have some proper medieval fun. After all, isn't that what we all want? Duel others and achieve interpersonal goals, and that will have impact on your strategy later on. It is as if 4X meets The Sims, even more so it sounds like than Crusader Kings. A lot of people say Crusader Kings is an RPG pretending to be a map painter, and it sounds like that's even more the case here. This is more an RPG game, and then you have the strategic elements on top. Not to say the strategic stuff isn't as important, or maybe even more important, but it is that difference here. You are having the characters, how they interact with each other, the decisions you make affect things a lot more than, again, Civilization, where you are the state. You have a ruler, they live forever, but you don't have like events where it's not like Teddy Roosevelt is going to a dinner and then this thing happens, so the Queen of England doesn't like him. You don't have those kind of things in Civilization. These are the things they brought in from Crusader Kings, but then also that kind of like Simsification, I guess you could say, where you see them on the map, you see them in events, and see how all that plays out. But anyway, that is where I'm going to leave the video for today. Like I said, I just really wanted to cover this because I've got my eye on this game. It looks very interesting. And I thought covering this initial announcement and Q&A would give all of you like a rough overview of what the game looks like. Maybe it is something you want to pick up at launch or want to keep tracking. I will, as I said, leave a link to it in the description down below on Steam, so you can follow it, see all the updates. And like I say, if this video does well, I'll probably cover this on the channel. I will definitely be playing at launch on the channel, but I do cover for Crusader Kings and EU5, like the weekly updates and things like that in a very similar manner to this video. So if it is your kind of thing, do subscribe and I'll be talking about this up to its launch. But anyway, we'll leave it there for today and I'll see you in the next one.